Welcome to the live workshop. This is the 2D versus 3D animation workshop. And specifically, what's the difference and how to transition from 2D to 3D. I'm Bo Pratt from Animation Mentor. And Animation Mentor, for any of you who don't know, is an online animation school that specializes in character animation and game animation. For today, we have two very special segments for you. The first, which is going to be fantastic, is our main topic, 2D animation versus 3D animation. And that is going to be hosted by T. Dan Hofstedt, one of our amazing mentors here. And following that, we have a second segment, which is going to be a talk with Animation Mentor Student Success Team, who are Tim and Mars, and they're going to be there to help answer any questions you have regarding the school, how to start learning about these topics that you just heard about, and any other questions you have on that. So, without further ado, let's jump right into things, and T-Dan, feel free to take it away.
All right, thank you, Bo, and welcome everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time zone you happen to be in. I'm very excited to share a little time with you, and it'll kind of be fast-paced in our limited time together, but I'll try to make it worthwhile. Quick introduction on myself. I started out in 2D animation, hand-drawn on paper. That's where they used to cut down trees and smash it up into kind of pulp and press it together, and they made these little thin slices of white stuff that they called paper way back in the olden days, kids. And then they punched holes in it, and you took like a burnt stick and scraped on it, and made pictures and things on it. So that's how far it goes back. But so I worked at Bluth and Hanna-Barbera and then Disney. I was at Disney for about 16 years. Um, Warner Brothers for 10. I've worked on about 25 features, but I worked mostly in 2D up until 2002, and then during the making of Treasure Planet, I was introduced to 3D by helping develop one of the characters called Ben, the robot. I did some 2D tests of Ben, and then looking over the shoulder of Oscar Uristevskaya, who was the 3D animator who was doing Ben. He made it look so easy. I thought that looks fun, but of course it wasn't always easy. But he opened the door to teaching me how to animate. And after I did my own character, which was Mr. Arrow on Treasure Planet, I was able to finish the film doing 4 shots of Ben, the robot. So that was my first um, experience in 3D. And from there, I kind of went back and forth between 2D and 3D, worked at Sony, was animation supervisor on Monster House. And that was a great learning experience as well. So I've gone back and forth between 2D and 3D. So I hope my perspective on this transition from 2D to 3D is helpful to some of you. But I would do want to underline that to me, it's going from an actor with a pencil to being an actor with a computer. And it's the mentality and approach never really changed. I always still think about who is the character? What is the character thinking? What are they feeling? Um, why are they in this situation that they're in? And how will they react when they're put into this situation? So the character is super important. And I always go back to, the 12 principles of animation, the squash and stretch, the posing, and all of that you're familiar with. Um, it's it's still the basic foundation. It's not like, oh, this is one kind of animation over here, and there's a totally different kind of animation over there. It's animation. It's putting life into a character. And then you just happen to have different tools, whether it's, a pencil, a stylus, CG tools like Maya, or clay, or cutout paper, or whatever it happens to be. Your mentality is still going to be the character and what's happening and how they're feeling and what they're thinking. So that to me is the foundation. So let me bring up a couple things. I'll share my screen in a second. I'm going to show you first something that I have in Let's see. Are you seeing this okay?
Yep, seeing that clearly.
Okay, great. This is a little test of a simple character that is just doing a head turn take. And this is just the major poses. Um, and it's just a quick and dirty little test where the character is looking one way. And it's very rough, obviously. Then has a little, I'm just flipping between these two. He kind of senses that something happened. Maybe he heard something, and then does a little anticipation and then turns and looks. So these are like 5 or 6 drawings here of just a simple little idea. A character's minding his own business. Here's something. Oh, what's that? Okay, quick and easy. Um, Compare that to um, a similar thing in CG here. Let's see, I have 3 poses here. First pose, kind of minding my own business, little anticipation, and then looks up like, what was that? Like, and so here, I start out in this simple 3 poses of the beginning, the little anticipation, and the end. Then I could do a 4th pose where the character's turned. Um, I can go to the 4th. Here, I'm not concerned with timing yet. I've done everything in just frame by frame. So I'm going to go to my next frame here, and I can um, decide, all right, I'm going to turn this guy, maybe starting with his hips. I'm going to turn him here. Maybe he'll shift a little bit. Since this is my camera here, I'm not concerned about his whole body pose. I'm just concerned with from the waist up to kind of keep it simple. Um, then I can go in and find the different controls. Like I can twist his torso a little bit. He's turning this way, and then maybe turn this way, and then I can move his head. All right, so that could be my 4th pose. So I've got minding my own business, do a little anticipation. So I dipped his head down, he squats down a little bit, he comes up like, what was that? And then he's going to turn and look. And I think, okay, well, that gets me started. Um, I feel like I need another transition drawing here. So for the moment, I'm going to just move this um, along the timeline, and now I have a space here between these two. Now having moved that, there might be some values in here that I can pick up for free, but I might not keep them all. But I think what I'd rather do is I want to do a little anticipation like I did in the other version. Rather than do an in-between yet, I'm going to do my anticipation into his turn. So with that in mind, with everything selected, I'm going to middle mouse to 4. So I've basically copied 3 to 4, but I'm going to change 4 in the way I want to. So I can dip him down, grab his torso here. Maybe he dips forward. Thank goodness for undo. Gonna rotate his head forward. Maybe get his shoulders up. Kind of rotate his shoulders up like this. So grab his other shoulder. So again, quick and dirty. And maybe just to make it more interesting, I'll tilt his head slightly. I won't worry about his eyes right now. I think I would close his eyes. And so here he's anticipating, and he's going to look there. So now I think what I'd like to do is to make 4 a little bit different than 2. 2 and 4 are very similar. So just to break this up a little bit, 1 to 2 to 3, he's listening. Now he goes down. I think I'll tip him a little to the left. Maybe a little bit more down. And then maybe do something with his head slightly different. Maybe he's gonna tilt this way, just to make 2 and 4 different. And then he's gonna pop into that. All right, so that brings me back to the comparison between that and the 2D. Let's go back to Harmony. Magically, I have new drawings here that I did before, obviously. And I based it on timing charts where I had my old 1 to 14, and here's some samples of timing charts. Here, the timing charts would be very even. So it's like the first drawing and the last drawing, or the next key, I should say, is spread out here very evenly. And if I did it that way, it would look like the character's underwater. So I have to take into consideration of where when I'm adding my in-betweens and breakdowns, I'm trying to decide where the drawings are in relation to the first and last of the set. Is it favoring, or is it closer to one or the other, or is it evenly spaced? Is it a little bit of both? It's a choice that you have to make. Here's an example. Okay, an even timing chart is very evenly spaced here. But then you have slow ins and ease ins, where you've got more drawings close to the start, and then you accelerate into the next, or you have fewer drawings and you decelerate into the target, or a little bit of both. You slow out a little bit and you slow in a little bit. And then comparing that with what it looks like in Maya, for the kind of curves you have, this is sort of like a linear curve, meaning it's very straight, the shortest distance between 2 points, and there's no variation. It's all evenly matched. Accelerating is it's favoring on this side, so it's slowly going up and then it shoots up through that target. Here it's the opposite. You're already kind of going fast, but then you slow down into the target, and then here's the curve representation of acceleration and deceleration, or slow in and slow out. So that's kind of the same thinking here. So here, as I've gone through and decided how these intervals or in-betweens are going to be timed, I can now have something fairly complete. And then just for fun, like I put on a face here, a character, using that simple shape. So now we have a little bit of personality there. All right, so now we get back to Stewie here. You notice in the beginning, I just had him. I had no regard for timing here. I just had one after another. Now I want to spread it out a little bit to kind of put it where I think I need to be. So before I do that, I'm just gonna take an educated guess. This first pose, might be oh half a second. So let's say 12 frames. And then this, I might time it maybe like 4 or 5 frames. And then this might be another half a second. I'm just guessing. And then I'll go ahead and do that um, by making sure I have. So I have a timeline here that's 48 frames. So I'm going to take this last one. I'm just going to slide it down. I've selected all the keys. And since I think I'm going to want this for about 12 frames, for the moment, I'm going to now copy this one about 12 frames back. So 48 minus 12, 36. So I'll put it right here at 35. So now I have this last pose is what I call bracketing, where it's like a temporary placeholder that says, okay, the first time I see that pose in time, it's here at frame 35, and the last time I see that pose at frame 48. So I know I'm going to see that pose approximately for that many frames. There may be some movement in between there yet, but I'm not worrying about that yet. So here's my anticipation pose. I'm going to move this down closer to here, and I'm going to leave a little gap, maybe like 3 frames between those two. So that'd be sort of a placeholder for the moment. And then I can go get this guy. This is one that I thought maybe would last anywhere from 8 to 12 frames. So I'm going to grab him, move him down, maybe give it another like 3 frames between where that next one was. And then I'm going to copy him about 10 frames before and put it there. So now I have this little bracket, first instance of this pose, last instance of this pose. Then I have a little transition between the the next thing and then into that. So now I can do the same here. This was my first pose, my first anticipation. I want to move this guy closer here. I'm going to leave maybe a 2 or 3 game, maybe, yeah, like a 2 frame gap here. And then take one and middle mouse copy. So now I have 10 frames of this, a 3 frame gap, 3 frames of this, and into this new pose. So now I have roughly a quick and dirty pose test. I can do a little play blast here. Let me set it up and say go, and bring it over here so you can see it. Okay, so I took those handful of poses, and now I can see, all right, maybe that works. I'm close. Still a lot to do, but at least it got me partway there. Now I can go back in and start to play around with things like what I would call eccentric breakdowns, or just breakdowns, where instead of it being sort of linear, like going from here to there, see, it's very even. That's where um that's where the choices of deciding, well, how can I break this up so it's a little more interesting, come in. Um, and maybe you can regard what I call inherited momentum. Like when something is moving, you want to think about where it's coming from. So here in this first little move, I'm thinking I want I want this first move here to kind of cushion down into, let's see. I want to kind of cushion down into this pose. So here I have, I want it to be kind of close to this. So I'm going to, this might take a little longer than I want to spend right now, but I want to take this value that's really close to this and somehow get it tighter. So and this is they have tools which I don't have on my tool set right now where you can do in between tools. But what I want to do is get something really close to this. And it's a little trick I learned at Sony, um, where we actually go into subframes, and it's kind of technical, where I can go and grab like 12.9 and then move it so it's closer. I don't really want to do that right now because that might take too much time. But let's say I go here and then move this over one. Let's see if that helps. Yeah, this would take a little more time than we have time for, but I would go in and favor this pose, and then maybe here let him sort of overshoot a little bit, kind of like, what was that? He can go up a little. Maybe here's the inherited momentum. Like when he's coming out of this down, I can let him go up here and let him settle down a little bit, up and then settle. So see that that could be a slight little overshoot there, just for fun. Maybe pop his head up slightly, and then we can get everything from here, and maybe put it there. So let's do another play blast here real quick, just to see what that front part looked like. So that's just the first half, a little take, adding that little bounce where he does a little take. Now I'll do just one more. I want to change this breakdown here where he's coming into this. So let me add a fun little thing. I'm going to grab his head here and then see what's when he comes down here. I think I'm going to delay the head slightly. It's just kind of a breakdown. And then when I get to here, I'm going to push it down a little bit more, maybe tilt it. I want to start him turning the head. Now here, I want to do something different than what the computer gave me, because the computer is just giving me a linear choice here. So I want either this little bit of drag here, but also a little bit of um, he's starting to sort of look toward his target, like what's behind me. So he's thinking about, oh, I got to check this out. So this I think is going to help. Now we get to here. I think I'm the inherited momentum again. See how it's got some momentum. I don't want him to stick here. So even though I got him here, I want to go past there, maybe grab this a little bit, his center, just a little bit. Maybe I'll have him go a little bit towards this way. Maybe his head also goes slightly up, and just a little bit of tilt there. So now I can go here. All right, so let's see what that looks like real quick, and then we'll pause for a second. Okay, so played last. A little bit of a hitch in the end there. I got to smooth out. It kind of nods, which I didn't intend, but I can smooth that out easy enough. But now comparing that to our 2D. Okay, so let me bring up um, a few other samples here. Um, I can talk briefly about dialogue. That would take, that's a whole nother half-hour set of things, um, but just in keeping with thinking of animation as um, not animation doesn't really care what you're using, whether it's a pencil or clay or paper or whatever, but the principles are all the same. So I have a shot that I did that had some dialogue, and I planned the dialogue in advance by reading the sound. This is an old X sheet, and by reading the sound, each one of these frames or each one of these lines is a frame of film. So 8, 16, 24, 32, about 40 or so frames. And this is a character saying, sure having himself a ball. Um, and it was from the Sweet Georgia Brown song, which is the Harlem Globetrotters theme. And right in the beginning, a couple of people are talking before the music starts, and one of the guys says, "Sure having himself a ball." And so I would find where each vowel and syllable and sound is, and what frame it happens on, and then I would make a little chart for myself because he's saying, "Sure having himself a ball." So there's a kind of rhythm, da 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 da. There's a rising and falling in accents. And I would just kind of analyze this and I'd plan in advance. Okay, I want the up at 6, another up at 12. I want a down, this little down trough here is between 15 and 19, a rising up back to 24. I'm hanging for like 10 or 11 frames at the top of this self a ball and then nodding down and settling. So that whole this is a little study I would do, just a diagram to imagine in my mind uh, where things are needed here. So let me quickly open up. I'll save this, um, but I want to open up that dialogue shot just to show you. Um, okay, so this is about halfway through where I'd animated the character and so this is like not quite cleaned up yet, but it's just a quick and dirty um sure having himself a ball. And it's just to get the lip sync pretty close. Close this. Sure having himself a ball. But this isn't complete, but it's just like, all right, this is a starting point. Those rising and falling that you saw in that diagram, I put into the head, kind of a nod, and then I also found the accents of where his mouth is going to be the most open. So I thought, okay, that's kind of generic. Uh, I wanted to take it to a next level, and then I went in and Open scene. Here's the final. Don't save. Where I thought that the mouth was kind of generic. See how in this, it's very symmetrical and kind of flat and just sort of all right, man. It's just kind of the basic shapes and there's not much personality to it. So I went in and on this phase, I gave him a little crooked grin. So I built that crooked grin as kind of to sort of ride throughout the shot and just kind of finessing, putting asymmetry, meaning it's not equal on both sides, finding ways to just make it more interesting and more fleshy. Because humans, we don't really, we're not very symmetrical in reality. If you just observe people, the way they talk, the way they move, there's there's uh there's asymmetry. So let's look at him here. This is kind of the finished version.
You're having himself a ball.
So adding that little personality quirk, that crooked smile, just makes it so much more interesting than this. This is just so generic and like, okay, it works, it's fine, but it's kind of not very interesting, sort of boring. So finding ways to make your character more believable starts with noticing what makes that character unique and maybe pushing it so it doesn't look like everything else. So this to me would look like everything else. But here, adding that little twist in the corner of his mouth, putting a little puffiness when he says ball, ball, makes it more fun and interesting. So cool. I don't know if this is all we have time for as far as demos and such, but I'll ask you, Bo, how's
I I
how's the
think we have a
question
little
go?
bit more time for demos, or if you want, we could go into some questions, then jump back to demos if we have time.
Sure. All right.
Cool. So let's just go over a few quick questions here and then see how much time we have left. So
All right.
everyone, feel free to post more questions in. Let us know what you want to know about. I've got a few here that we can go over. So first off is, what would you say was more difficult to learn, 2D or 3D animating?
Well, for me, it was I would say it was difficult. Each was difficult, but in a different way. When I was animating in 2D, I was just learning the basics. It took me a few years to kind of go from assistant and in-betweener and become a full-fledged animator. And that came through just the learning process. And so that was hard to kind of gain my confidence that, okay, I can do this. And learning the tricks of the trade and how to think about a character and going through that. So that was hard in that way. When I started 3D, what was hard for me was now I have these tools and all these buttons and sliders and graphs and curves and outliners and all these windows, and you're going, what is this place? And I already knew how to animate. I could do bouncing balls and runs and walks and acting and dialogue. I knew how to do that, but how do I do it here now? And so that was hard in that way, where I had these new tools. If I think if I didn't know how to animate and started in 3D, it'd be an interesting puzzle on what the question, what the answer to that question would be, because trying to figure the tools out and figure out how to put life into a character might be kind of like uh, another piece of the puzzle. But I feel like once I got my breakthrough in 3D was when I realized that, hey, I know what I'm doing as far as getting characters across. I just need to learn enough about the tool to get that to happen and stop being intimidated by all these buttons I'll probably never use. Just use the ones you know you need, such as, setting keys, managing timing, learning about curves and how those relate to your key management. Just concentrate on those few things that make your character work, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, I've had a similar but opposite thing where I knew CG
Mhm.
before animating 10 years of Maya,
Mhm.
and trying to learn 2D afterwards is like, how do I wrap my brain around it? I understand how it works in 3D, but 2D is like, I just draw it and it's there. It's definitely a very different mentality when
Mhm.
you approach one or the other, even though the substructure is all the same, which is
Mhm.
really cool.
Yeah.
And kind of on that, uh, for beginner animators, we have a question here. Would you recommend for beginners to learn 2D or 3D animation first? Is there one that's better to learn one over the other, or is it really just what you're passionate about?
Well, yeah, it's I think the last part, as far as passion and care and stuff you're into, you have to have an interest in it somehow. So if you love to draw and that's something that, you just have to draw, you're carrying a sketchbook around, and maybe that's the foundation. But if you find yourself, hey, I love tinkering around and clicking around and I'm maybe a little more technical, um, maybe that's the answer for you. I don't know if I can answer it for everybody. It has to be kind of a personal thing. But I feel like as long as it's um, looked at through the lens of animation is animation. There's weight and volume and squash and stretch and timing and arcs and personality. As long as you're thinking those things, um, and then using the tool to get there, I think it doesn't really matter. But with my background, I feel like you should know how to draw, even if you're going to do 3D. Because even drawing little ideas and sketches, just to kind of figure things out, it's a great tool. So I would still draw in 2D, even if you favor 3D. Just uh, just always draw.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. That was something that when I started animating, I didn't draw at all. I could barely draw a circle. But my brother does draw, and he taught me just a few tricks. And man, did it help me plan things out so much faster and just put ideas down versus trying to jump into Maya and, like you had said earlier, fighting all those buttons and graphs and all of that just to make sure my idea worked in the first place. It
Hmm.
is very, very helpful.
Oh,
And then we have another question here. Does your creative process differ when working on 2D animation compared to 3D? How is your kind of thought process as you approach your shots different?
um, well, I feel that drawing is a little more spontaneous, where I can be sketchy and fluid and kind of you know, be open to happy accidents when I'm sketching, and sometimes I might make a shape that maybe is not totally correct, but it has a life to it. Maybe there's like a certain line of action that that has something that is sort of fun. So there's a lot of freedom in drawing. When you have a rig that you're working with, sometimes you can't push it that far or it'll break. There might be certain poses that you can't get to, and that's part of the process as well. In a 3D production, there's a whole set of time devoted to rig testing where animators are given rigs and you try to get them into poses, and then you tell the rigger, hey, whenever I do this breaks and I really need to get this pose because this character always is doing this. And so there's a little back and forth where they say, oh yeah, let me build that in for you. So the spontaneity when you're drawing is there, and it's hard to have that spontaneity sometimes, in my opinion, with CG, unless you have flexibility with the production and a rigger, or if you know how to rig yourself, that would be helpful as well to kind of get those special things that you're looking for. That's one of the things when I was animation supervisor on Monster House, we had to go through and make poses and faces, and try to get expressions on these characters, and maybe the eyebrows weren't working the way they needed to. So they would have to go back to rigging and modeling so that they could get those faces that we're after. So it's always kind of a back and forth. So that's the big difference to me is not having the spontaneity, um, of just drawing the eyebrow where it needs to be, and hey, it's done, rather than, oh shoot, I got to send this back to modeling and rigging so they could build the eyebrow I want. So
It's a lot more technical on the CG side versus just like you said, mulched tree, burnt
mhm.
wood, done.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so we have a question here. It kind of goes from going to 3D to 2D,
Mhm.
where I've always had problems with drawing the same character accurately and consistently. In 3D, you have your perspective and all of your proportions figured out for you. But in 2D, how do you preserve that and how do you try to work consistently with your characters?
Good question. Let me open something in Harmony real quick and share the screen. So back in the old days, okay, if this was paper, on my on a on an animation disc, I would put I would put a piece of paper on the bottom of my character at the size it needed to be. And I would kind of every once in a while double check, oh, is it the right size? As I make new drawings, I would go in and um, put just compare. Having this back there um just is a reminder how big it has to be. Okay, so that's one way is having something back there um, that you could show on a separate level and maybe knock down the opacity so it's not dominating, but it's just there in the kind of a, a shadowy reminder of where that is. So that's I think the best way in 2D to keep that consistent. Um, because it's easy to do. If you're going from one drawing to another, you're gonna maybe get a few pixels off every drawing, and then 100 drawings later, oh man, this guy's shrunk or grown, and so it's super easy to do. So if that happens, don't feel like, oh, I can't do it. It happens to everybody, and that's why you want to have a little tool back there to just double check yourself. There's a little perspective here in this, so you can see the guy in the foreground is actually slightly bigger than the guys in the background. But that's on purpose. So anyway, hope that helps.
That is really cool. It's such a simple trick, and yet it's like, of course, that's brilliant.
Yeah, no,
Now we have it. Oh, sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna go. We do have another question regarding 2D versus 3D, which is we have the 12 principles of animation for both 2D and 3D. Do they have the same challenges to master one between the other? Is there a difference when you're approaching, for example, squash and stretch in 3D versus 2D? And are there certain ones that are harder to learn?
Yeah, great question. You know, I think generally it's universal, but you mentioned squash and stretch in particular. Um, that is important because what you want to always maintain is what is the material made of? And it will always come back to its normal form. And squash and stretch, remember, is really just kind of a sort of extremes where there's pressure put on it. It's being stretched or pulled, or it's being squashed down. But even so, it's always the same thing. It's not growing, it's not shrinking. It still has its consistent volume, Unless, of course, there's a tear in the flour sack and the flour is spilling out and he's getting smaller. Okay, that's a possibility. Great idea for you kids out there who want to animate a flour sack and effects at the same time. But as far as squash and stretch in 2D, um, maintaining volume is great. But now maintaining volume in 3D, uh, you would think, oh, well, that takes care of itself. It's always the same size. Well, not really, because let's open up a bouncing ball. Let's save this. See if I can find it here. Ball test. Okay, so here's like a simple rig. This is just a simple bouncing ball rig. Let me find where he is. There he is. And you notice, he's bouncing and squashing and stretching, but in order to get that stretch, if I simply elongate it um in one direction, then it's not exactly holding volume. So I have to compensate that, making it if I'm going to make it long, I also have to make it narrow left and right. Does that make sense? Um, I don't want it to grow or shrink. I want it to maintain volume. So on this, I would have not only made it long, but made it narrow. See what I mean? So that is a form of drawing, I guess you could say, where you're kind of gauging the volume and just making sure you're maintaining volume through that. Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it is one of those things, especially in 3D. I've seen a lot of students struggle where, oh, I'll just squash or stretch it, just scale it, and then forgetting that you also have to go in that opposite direction. If you make it tall, you have to make it thin. If you have to make it short, you have to make it wide, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's, but once you get that, it's quite simple either way. I feel like you said, they have slight differences, but in the end of the 12 principles are the 12 principles. You learn one, it kind of applies globally, which is really cool.
Yeah,
Now, this
absolutely.
question here comes to the breakdowns that you were talking about when you were animating your character and adding those extra keys to really refine that motion and avoid that linear movement.
Hmm.
Is it better advised to do the breakdowns after doing large posing, for example, after you've done your main keys, or is it better to do it during, so as you're animating more straight ahead? In the question they mentioned, I get stuck in the loop of thinking we can make this feel more alive before finishing blocking the scene with the large poses.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. I found that, there's always the conversation that you'll have with other animators and, teachers and whatnot, mentors, oh, what's better, straight ahead or pose to pose? And I feel like almost every shot I've ever done has a little bit of both, depending on the kind of shot it is. So when you mention, hey, do I do the breakdowns during or do I wait till later? To me, it kind of depends. My feeling is while you're thinking about it, maybe it's better to do it while it's in your mind. If you're going, okay, pose and say, oh, I don't want to do the breakdown yet. I got to do my poses first. There's some rule about that. I just don't think about that. If you feel like, I while I'm thinking it'd be cool to have a breakdown here. So maybe you put it in while you're thinking of it, because maybe later you might forget, or that little flash of inspiration thinks, oh, breakdown, cool. I'll put it in there. So I would tend to kind of be open to the inspiration, as long as you don't kind of start going down a rabbit trail and, okay, I was busy doing my poses and then suddenly I'm over here and I never got to my poses. It's always kind of a balance of energy and time management and all of that, where, okay, I'm trying to get the idea down. That's great. You know, at but be open to possibly throwing stuff in, and not think that there's some rigid rule that says, oh, I'm doing pose to pose and I must do my poses first and I'm not allowed to do breakdowns. Go ahead and throw them in if you're thinking about it, and and uh, and that kind of might add to the spontaneity of it.
Nice. Yeah, so basically it's an art form and the rules can be bent and tweaked to fit your style and your workflow, the thing that works best for you.
Yeah,
Would that be
exactly.
correct?
Exactly. And also the needs of the scene, where
Hmm.
some certain shots lend themselves to being more straight ahead because there might be a lot of action and jumping, and um you're sort of flowing with it. But even at the same time, you might find that fluidity in the straight ahead method, but you still know that there's certain poses I've got to be at for this particular shot. Especially on a production, you're given a storyboard and there might be some suggested poses there. And you know, okay, he's got to be standing straight up here, and then he's going to be sitting down there, and he's going to be jumping up onto the wall over here, or whatever that the action is. It's sort of given to you as these are necessary moments in the shot that you must do. So you might do some of that straight ahead, but you still know, oh, I got to be pass through this pose somehow or be there. So there's a little of both happening at the same time.
Nice. Now we're pretty much at 10 minutes left here. Did you want to go over your demo or we can keep answering questions?
Um, well, I'm open to both. I can show a couple more things real quick, but um, mainly the approach that I have to animation, as I said in the beginning, was trying to think of what the character's thinking and feeling, and always make that the most important thing. Um, I can
Yeah,
show
that sounds like a really important topic. I think that would be really beneficial for everyone to see.
yeah,
And if everyone has a preference, feel free to message in the chat if you'd rather see the demo or go over a few more questions.
yeah. I
So
mean,
this
I'm
is cool.
open to
Okay, I'm
questions.
already excited for this.
So here's a shot I animated of Frollo here. This is from Hunchback of Notre Dame. Can stone talk? So here, I don't have the X sheet or the little diagrams I made for this shot, but he's this evil guy, condescending, kind of manipulating the poor hunchback. So his eyes are locked on him. So this first pose, he's down, and but with there's kind of a pose within a pose where he's going more down, and he's getting narrowing his eyes. Can stone, and he's got a little bit of a sarcastic grin. Can stone, and he comes up, and now he's kind of looking down at him. Never loses focus on him. Can stone, then he's got kind of a sneer, like you know, little bit of an evil sneer as he's saying, "Can stone talk?" And a little sarcastic half grin, like you're you're kidding, right? Stone talk, you silly boy. So it's attitude. It's it's the teacher saying, "Don't you know anything, silly man?" And it's attitude, and that there's only a few poses here. He kind of settles down to one, comes up to another, and then comes down to a third. But within each of those, there's a little bit of texture, and he's kind of lifting his hand up at the time, lifting his head up with his hand to kind of like take more control of him. So all of those little bits were put in for that reason, to sort of show I'm in control of you. You must listen to me, and you're dumb and I'm smart. I mean, that's his attitude. Um, so any questions?
That was awesome. That was such a good scene, man. Oh, that hit right those feelings when I first watched that film of how manipulative he is. Like, oh, beautiful. I'm geeking
Yeah.
out now. Uh,
Yeah.
in terms of questions, here's a question we've had from quite a few people, and it kind of ties into what you were just showing, where you've got this amazing piece with acting and beautiful poses and all of these elements that you've been showing here. A lot of people here are total beginners, totally new to animation. And they were mentioning this all seems very daunting and terrifying. How do we get to this starting from nothing? What advice would you give to people jumping in, and what would be a good starting point on how to begin this journey to get to that Notre Dame level?
Wow.
It's a big question.
Yeah, it's a big question, but my kind of two-part answer, in my opinion. First, to be curious about the world. If you have energy and enthusiasm or passion or whatever you want to call it, the to me, an animator's baseline passion should be curiosity about the world. How do things move? How do people act? How do emotions work? What is storytelling? I mean, all these questions. I mean, I know that the nine old men, Ward Kimball, Frank Thomas, Ollie Johnson, and the old Disney days, they talk about Chuck Jones, the Warner Brothers director of the old Bugs Bunnies. They all talked about um, how an animator wears a lot of hats. You're an artist, you're a cinematographer, you're a layout artist, you know how to do a lot of different things. Maybe you like music and you maybe do a little dancing or whatever. I mean, you have multiple interests that you're bringing into your work based on your observations. So I'd say that curiosity of how the world works and the wonder of, oh wow, look at how that flag when it's flowing, it's so cool. How would I draw that? You ask yourself that question. How would I draw that? You see a horse running, go, oh cool, look at how the tail does this, or look at the head is kind of going forward and not just up and down, it's kind of got this pulse. um you start looking at things and go, wow, how does that work? Oh cool, I never noticed that before. So you're having that curiosity into how the world works, how things move, how people behave, emotions and storytelling, and just going, well, when I go to a movie, how am I being led along by what I'm seeing? You see somebody with a happy face and then they change and you go, oh, something happened. What happened? Why are they now sad? So you kind of start to observe how those things make you feel so that you can maybe be the one making other people feel those things, because you know that, oh, I got to show this attitude, and then I show a contrast to that, which tells the audience, oh, something happened. They thought something. And then when you start putting those bits of life that you've observed, then you can connect to the audience because they have observed those things, but maybe they didn't think about it as deeply as you did. But you have to think deeply about what's going on and how things work and put those on paper or put them in the computer so that other people watching can go, oh yeah, I get it. That makes sense. Does that make
That's
sense?
really cool. Oh yeah. I know one of the things that I was told when I was learning to animate is in order to animate the experience of life, you need to experience life. But
Mhm.
I feel like what you just said there is even more important, where it is important to experience life, to see these things, to go out and like live life. But it's
Mhm.
more than that. It's the observation and curiosity of life. Like you were saying, how do I draw that? How the heck does that move? Wow, that's really cool. How does that work?
Mhm.
That is really, really fantastic advice.
Mhm. Well, thank you. I'm hoping I know it's a quick little session here, but I hope we at least scratched the surface and got people interested in finding that curiosity.
I think so. We've got a ton of questions here that we weren't able to get to. So if anyone else wants more of this, definitely let us know. I want to see more of this too. So we're going to be moving on to our second segment here with the student success coaches. But before that, I did want to say, T-Dan, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This was absolutely amazing. Just getting to hear your thoughts and your kind of philosophy on animation and how to approach it, especially from the 2D and 3D side of things, was really, really cool.
Oh, thanks so
Uh,
much. I appreciate it. And I appreciate all y'all being here and listening, and good luck and happy animating, everybody.
Thank you all so much. And again, thank you, Dan. So, with that, Mars and Tim, uh, it is now your time to shine. And I'll let you take the floor. And yeah, if anyone has questions regarding Animation Mentor, the school, how to learn all the amazing things that Dan has been talking about, feel free to ask him. There's a cat.
Thanks,
So,
Bo. Thanks, TDN. That was awesome. That was really cool. Especially that last shot too, the hunchback. That was pretty
It's
cool
been a
to see
while
that.
since I've seen that.
Right, right. Seeing some of that classic stuff and knowing somebody that's that's animated on that and getting that breakdown, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I like I said, now I'm gonna. It seems like all of these workshops that we have have things in there that kind of remind you of what you really enjoy about animation, and it makes you kind of want to go back and go, you know what? I need to watch that now. I haven't watched that in a long time. I'm going back into some of that stuff now. So
Yeah,
yeah, that was really cool. Super super helpful. It was neat to see him doing both and actually
yeah,
watching him in
yeah.
real time do some 2D animation
That
with
was
some
cool.
3D animation. That was super super. That's the stuff. I mean, he teaches for us our 2D workshops that we offer here, and so to be able to
Yep.
work in a class with a guy like that is absolutely phenomenal, amazing for him to be able to do that. So that was cool, man.
Yeah.
That was good. It was a good time.
Yeah. That was awesome. Well, thank you everyone for being here for this amazing free workshop. Just in case you don't know, we do these every single month. So
Yeah.
make sure that you're signing up for the next one coming up. And in case you didn't know, my name is Mars. I am a student success coach here at Animation Mentor with my guy Tim.
Yep.
And what we do is we help students enroll in our courses. And I tell students that we're professional responders.
Yeah.
So we respond to messages. We reach out to you if you apply to our school. We're going to send you a message and try and set up a meeting with you to talk about what your animation goals are and help you get enrolled in the right courses and picking out mentors and finding something that's going to fit your schedule. I think you might have saw some of the comments in there. Somebody had mentioned, "Wow, this is so cool because we're from all over the world," and that's exactly what Animation Mentor is all about. I mean, we're such an international school for the past 20 years. Even though we're founded in California and based in New York,
Yeah.
we got students from everywhere. So that's I think that's something that really makes animation really unique and special.
Yeah, and you can see even now people jumping in and dropping comments, and they're from all over the place. So,
Yeah, exactly.
which is really cool, and it was neat too because this was a 2D, kind of almost versus 3D kind of a thing, right? And you don't know what to expect in there, and then you start listening, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I think one of the things that hit it, home, especially for people that are super new to this, never done it before, because there's a lot of people on
Right.
here that are also experienced in this, is that talking about, oh wow, 2D animators. Well, there's a lot of spontaneity to it, right? So you can
Right.
draw a character on the spot and have them do all the things. Where if you want to do the same thing with a 3D character, well, you know what, you're probably going to have to send that over to a rigger to do some of the same things that you wanted done with the
Mhm.
eyebrows and things like that. You're going to have to send it over there. So it's a little bit more of a process, and there is less spontaneity as a 3D animator versus the 2D stuff, but you're working with digital puppets. So but a lot of 3D animators probably started, in watching 2D cartoons to begin with,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah,
And then
absolutely.
kind of finding their way, into this 3D wackiness too.
Yeah. Interestingly, 2D animation is kind of what got me into. Those of you that know me, I play piano and stuff, and got me kind of into jazz music. It was Schroeder on the Peanuts cartoons,
Yeah.
Charlie Brown. That was like, "Ah, what is this music in the background?" So, that's always been inspiring to me. Um, Well, cool. Well, we got some pretty cool stuff happening and coming up. We've got our last part of the summer term courses starting next week. So
Yeah.
if you want to get started right away, it's not too late. It's actually the perfect time to register. We've got some coupon codes floating around for the Maya animation course as well. So if you want to take that big step into 3D and get started, if you're brand new to 3D character animation, it all starts with learning Maya. And Tim, as you know, I mean, Maya can be pretty overwhelming. You could do so many different things with it: modeling, rigging, animation, lighting, visual effects. But what's really nice about this course kind of distills everything down to what are those specific tools you need to know to animate in Maya. So it's a really great course. What I love about it is it doesn't waste any time. You do a little bit
Yeah.
of modeling, get familiar with working in a 3D environment. By week 2, you're already animating. By week 3, you're animating a character already. So
Yeah.
it jumps right in. It's preparing you. It's helping you understand what the graph editor is, setting keyframes, and really the purpose of that course is to help prepare you for the next courses.
And week
In
3 hype, Dominic, we both talked with him, and he registered for both Maya
yeah,
and Animation Basics. We did the right path on there. So it's so funny that we kind of both were helping him
we're
out.
like Dominic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
exactly.
super cool, super cool.
Um,
Yeah, and then we even have and you see it up there in the thread, we've got a Spanish Maya course. And
oh,
we're
yeah,
trying it out, and it's going to
yeah.
be
Good call.
starting next week. And
Que,
so,
que
if
bueno.
you're interested in learning Maya, and English is not your first language, give that course a try. It's actually being taught by Mario Orlando, who
Amazing guy.
is amazing guy. He's an animator over at I think it's Industrial Light and Magic
ILM,
still, if
yeah.
I'm
Yep.
not mistaken, and I believe also an AM grad.
He
Um,
is.
so that's a really cool one. We're pretty stoked about that particular course. So think about jumping into that. We're gonna be a small group, of students that are gonna be in that particular course. So
Yeah,
give it a shot. Otherwise, you can jump into the English speaking Maya course is also starting next week as well, amongst
as
a
well.
gazillion other short courses that are gonna be kicking off.
Yep. Lots of them. I'm
So
glad you called. I'm glad you called that out. Go ahead.
yeah. So now for those that are maybe already have some my experience, right? That want to kind of do the next phase, right? The next side of
Mhm.
this. Your next step is the 12-week courses. That's where Dominic is registered for in
Yep.
those. And so for people that either have Maya or they're going to be taking Maya next week, we're still accepting applications for the fall term of classes that
Yep.
start September 29th. So whether you want to get
Correct.
into game animation or character animation for film, those courses start September 29th. That's our fall application. So try to get that. There's a link that kind of popped up right there. And what we want, when you apply here, we really want you to write us an essay on why you want to do
Oh
this.
yeah, that's
Right.
so important.
What makes you tick, right? What's in your heart that says, yeah, you know what, this is why I want to learn animation. Maybe it's something like T Dan showed us, the Hunchback stuff, and all of a sudden you're
Yeah.
like, man, that really like blew me away. I want to go to the next level. You don't need to apply to do the short courses like the 2D course. The 12-week courses, however, man, you got to apply because that's serious stuff. They're a lot longer. There's a lot more stuff, moving parts that go into it as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, if you're interested, let us know.
Awesome. Yeah, and just to let you know, the application deadline for the fall term is September 7th. So
Cool.
exactly 1 month from today. So you've got some time to decide, but yeah, get that application in.
Yeah.
Liz has got a question here. Will an email always be sent out for the next free workshop, or will I need to look on the website for the next one? I recommend checking the website. Another thing that you can do is make sure that you follow us on social, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, because we usually announce it there. But check the website often. We do have these on a monthly basis.
Yeah, yeah. And Efrain, these types of workshops, they are free, right? So those
Yes,
ones you can attend.
these
The
ones are
ones
free.
that you attend on the Animation Mentor student campus, those are different because those
Yeah,
are you're getting to actually meet in a Zoom session with a guy like T Dan,
yeah,
and they'll teach you how to do this stuff and have weekly assignments that you're working on, turning them in on Sunday, getting graded, getting reviews, That's
Yeah.
a little different than what we're
It's
doing right now.
right, right.
That's a lot more of like the teaching aspect. This is more informational, but also inspirational at the same time.
For sure. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that, Tim, because that is a big difference. When you actually pay for our courses, like the actual courses, not these free workshops, which are amazing as well, but like you said, you're getting that individual attention. You have small classes. You
Yeah.
actually be on camera with your mentor as well, too. So it's not going to be this webinar format, but you actually get to know your mentor. Your mentor gets to know you, get to know your classmates. You're making friends. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and if you have a chance, and it'll probably be a link that pops up here any second now. If you want to check out the student campus that we've just talked about, check out our campus tour
Oh yeah.
video. It'll give you a real good idea. And we've actually added a lot more since that video was done.
Yeah, we
Right,
got
our
a new one, huh?
Discord is up there. We got to do a new one. Yeah, so
Yeah.
the new Discord is up there. There's so many more features that we've added to the student campus. It's pretty legit. Look at that.
Boom. Look at that.
Like magic. Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
Discord, Craig.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And the Discord, the official Animation Mentor Discord is for actively enrolled students. So you got to make sure that you're actually enrolling in one of our courses, not just these free workshops.
Yep,
So,
yep, yeah.
um,
Ezra was on that one too. Oop, got it.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Ah, got it. Yeah, Ishu's asking, how can I sign up for classes? So that's a great question too. So you can certainly contact us. You can just go directly to the website, animationmentor.com. We've got some of those shorter courses that we were talking about, like the Maya animation course, 2D animation, any of our 6-week courses. Those ones you can just register for right on the website, animationmentor.com.
Yeah.
There's a list of courses. You can check them out. You can see different, information about the courses. There's student example work, stuff like that you can check out, and you could just enroll for the course, choose the one you want. You check out, enter in your information, put in a credit card or debit card, boom, and you're going to be enrolled in the course.
Yeah.
And then for the other courses that Tim was talking about a little bit earlier, those ones you need to actually apply for. So if you're actually doing an 18-month program, 3D character or game animation program, you do need to submit an application. Our admissions team, Tim and I, will be checking that out. We'll be reviewing those applications like we do every single day. Once you're accepted into the program, then you can go ahead and enroll in the course. And we're here to help too. You don't just sign up for a course and that's it. It's not really very transactional here.
Ask Dominic.
Yeah, he's talked to both of us, right?
Yeah, yeah. So we're always trying. Look at it. There he is right there. So that's kind of how our community rolls, right? Is being able to help people like that and get them through. So we're gonna see Dominic throughout the whole time. We know Jay Sean too, right?
Yep.
So a lot of the
Definitely.
folks that are on here. Something cool that we've done, and this is the first time we've done this for this fall term that's going on. We used to do our deposit for the character animation program courses. They used to be $500 for students.
$500. Yeah.
Now our students are only doing a $99 deposit to choose their mentor, their class schedule, and actually register for a course. And then they instantly set up their payment plan right then and there. So we do have payment plans for our courses that are interest-free. There's no service charges or any kind of that wackadoo type stuff that's on there. So that's something new that we've been doing. We've never done that before. And so hopefully it's helping people out and allowing them to kind of pursue their dreams and actually learn animation, without breaking the bank.
Less than $100. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not too bad.
Cool. So just a reminder, if you do have any questions about Animation Mentor, how it works, any of the courses, how do you register, how do you apply, make sure you put those in the Q&A panel. We are looking at the comments here, but things kind of move fast in the chat. So if you do have questions, pop them in there. And if you guys don't have questions, Tim and I will ramble.
Yeah.
Careful.
Yeah. Oh yeah, without a doubt. We're super ramblers at the same time for sure. Now, yeah, Sal, this workshop, we usually hang around for another, what is it, maybe 16 minutes or so. So it's usually like an hour and a half because we get all the good stuff, right? Which is the stuff that T-Dan did, and then we jump in and hopefully not bore you to death, but at least give you some information on what's going on. But it's not like what T-Dan did. You know what I mean? He's showing you examples. He's doing all the fun stuff, right?
Right. Hannah's got a good one here. Is there an email address we can contact for further questions not listed online? Absolutely. We have an email address. You can contact us on Facebook, Instagram. I check LinkedIn, TikTok. We check all the messages. But to answer your question specifically, absolutely. Admissions
Yeah.
at animationmentor.com was just thrown in the chat there. You can
Boom.
certainly contact us there. That actually goes to me and Tim. So we check that all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like you've always said, we are professional responders. This
That's
is
it.
exactly what we do.
First responders?
Yeah, yeah, we are. We kind of are. You know, we kind of
Putting
are
out
for sure.
fires and
Yeah, yeah, all the things that kind of go
helping
along with
people.
that. Yeah,
Helping people. That's funny. Let's see here.
Alina, looking forward to signing up for classes. Well, that's great. We're looking forward to having you. Well, important note too is that when you're in classes with us, and some of the folks that are new here, they're going to be really surprised when they jump into class and go, "Wow, there's not a lot of people in here."
Yeah.
That's by design.
Yeah. Small class sizes are huge.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Well, or small.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Depends on how you look at it. Right. Yeah. But that's the truth. That got me a little bit, by the way. They are. We like to keep our class sizes pretty darn small so that way you've got a
Yeah.
lot more of that attention of your mentor, and it's just not overwhelming to have a bunch of people in a class. And it's really neat in the way that things are set up here. And I think that kind of goes all along throughout all the courses, from the Maya course, the 2D courses, all the way through the character animation courses here at the school.
Samsung SM5906U asks, I don't know if that's your real name or not, but is there any way to find a lesson plan that I could use for self-study? So that's a good question. Animation, in my opinion, and Tim, you could jump in if you want, but it's one of those things that you can learn quite a bit on your own. You can find YouTube videos. There's all kinds of great resources online, but you only kind of get to a certain point. If you really want to become a professional, really the only way to do that is to really get feedback and learn directly from a pro that's working in the industry. And so I mean, there's, like I said, there certainly are great resources out there. This is one of them right here, free workshop. But are you really going to learn how to do that head turn and acting, on your own? It's pretty tough. You really need to have the guidance of a mentor for that. So, I would encourage you, if you're looking for self-study resources, check out our YouTube page and stuff like that. But if you really want to take it to the next level, I would encourage you to look at some of the courses and possibly enroll.
Yeah, Maya tutorial's another good one on there. And I mean, self-taught is cool. You're right. And there are some people that do quite well, in that. But you also need somebody to tell you if your work is not so good, right?
Right.
And
Or if you're doing the right thing too.
or you're doing the right thing, and so
Mhm.
you need to have those people to keep it real with you, as we say, to make sure that you're on the right track, and getting you into that position where you are doing things correctly, instead of just kind of practicing the same mistakes over and over and over again. We want to make sure that we can address that early in that process. And so, Uzandu, Mar, sound like Will Arnett from BoJack Horseman. On there.
Really?
So thanks for that. Yeah, you may
Thank
have
you.
to.
Thank you.
You're right. Might have to drop that in. I do love Will Arnett, by the way. And Bianca, I was accepted in the animation basic course, but missed the deadline for the end of the August payment. Do I need to reply? No.
No,
You
not at all.
If you've already got an accepted application, we hang on to it, and so it's still, within our system here. So yeah,
Mhm.
you could
Mhm.
definitely register for an upcoming course. Totally.
Yeah. And just to let you know, registration is open until Sunday, September 28th.
Yeah.
But Tim and I tell students all the time, if you're asking that question, don't wait until the last minute. So my recommendation is, if you're planning for the fall term, which is our busiest term of the year,
Yeah.
try and register this month in August, because once September rolls around, which I was trying to say, you're going to see a lot of sold out signs. So, get your registration in soon. Lock your seat in. Tim said it's only $99
Yeah.
US to lock your seat in. Set up a payment plan if you need to, and yeah, it's definitely not too late.
Yeah, because the worst thing is that, you get registered for a class and then you realize, oh shoot, I just signed up for a class that's 4 a.m. Where you're like, wait a minute, that's cool for somebody in another country, but
Yeah.
because we've got all of these different schedules that literally can fit pretty much any time zone around
Any
the
time
world
zone.
for
Yeah.
people. to jump into. And so you don't want to get, stuck with like one that you're like, this is the only spot left. And the
There's
mentor is
only one.
amazing, but I
Yeah.
got to get up at like 4.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's so funny. I had that conversation yesterday with a guy from Luxembourg, and he's like, this is the guy that I want to study with is Barry Rooney for like GAO5 or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, but it's 4 in the morning. I'm like, you got to do it. Sometimes you got
Yeah.
to do it.
You're in.
Let's see here. Is it Natalia asking, is 22 too old to start learning the
Wow.
beginning of animation? 22. Can you imagine, Tim? Uh, um,
I can't.
no, definitely not. Definitely not. One of the things I love about our school, and I saw, you probably saw a spike in this too, Tim, around the pandemic, which is 5 years ago now. Hard to believe that.
Yeah.
We saw this rise in attendance from students of all different ages. We definitely have a lot of students sort of the 18 to 25. So I think you definitely kind of fall into that age range. But we've got students in their 30s, 40s, 50s. I think I've seen some students in their 60s and older in some cases here as well. So I don't think it's ever too late.
Yeah, I'm actually, while we were I was kind of like trying to do a couple things at the same time while some of the webinars going on, listening to some of it. I'd jump
Yeah.
over to check on some applications. There are people that have applied,
Oh
just
yeah.
like yesterday and last night and today, that are in their late 30s and 40s that have
Yeah.
applied,
Yeah.
that wrote
Yep.
great essays, that are about to get accepted to our school,
Yep.
that probably will have the same question that she did. And I'm going to be like, no, you're okay. You know what I mean? And you guess what, Natalia? You're okay too.
Yep, totally. Yeah, look at Edward. He's like, yikes, I'm 56, 45 when I got my degree.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. That is a wonderful thing in my opinion, and people who are a bit older later in life who are, brave enough to maybe make a career change or something like that. I applaud them. I think that that's amazing. And
Yeah.
just like this last comment here, it's never too late to start learning. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm looking at the comments here. People are like, yeah, this one's 20. And so, I mean, that's awesome. So get started now. So you don't have shoulda, wouldas and couldas. Right.
Yeah, none of those.
Yep.
Uzandu is asking, I'm not sure if I want to focus on games or not. I love games though. And that's fine,
Yeah.
and if you look at both of our 18-month programs, 3D character animation, which kind of focuses more on feature film, TV style animation, and then our game animation program, if you're comparing those side by side, the first 3 courses are exactly the same. So, just like T Dan was talking about, the principles of animation are everything. That's super important. So you're going to cover that in animation basics. And then you've got 2 courses of body mechanics. So you can do those first 3 courses before you got that fork in the road and need to kind of decide if you want to do more of the feature film or game animation. And
Yeah.
we also have a game animation fundamentals short course, six-week course. So if you want to dabble in there and kind of see what that Maya to Unreal game engine workflow is like, that's a really great short course that you can take, to kind of explore and see if you do want to go down that path. I usually recommend that 6-week game animation fundamentals course after you've completed the body mechanics or advanced body mechanics course, though.
Yep, exactly. I love that. That's something new that we've done and seems to be working out really, really well. Their work is amazing that they're
Yeah.
doing in there. So you're gonna learn a lot about Unreal in there.
Exactly.
Uzandu took the Sony Pictures Animation business animation course
This is animation. Nice.
and got their certificate through Yellow Brick, which we know Yellow Brick because that's our
We're
parent company.
we are Yellow Brick.
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
we're all one.
Yeah, and she has a silly question. But would this give me an animation job? I don't know if you guys heard of it. Well, yeah, we've definitely heard of it for sure. We know all
Of
about it.
course. Yep.
You need more than that. So the Sony, animation course is an awesome course, right? However, it doesn't go through the teaching aspect, which is what we do in Animation Mentor. You're not getting that sort of, instructional side of it with somebody like T-Dan, where they're going to walk you through it, examine your work, draw over it using, possibly Sync Sketch to kind of show you how to make things better. So that's kind of what you're getting, when you come into Animation Mentor. But having that certificate is a wonderful thing. I'm sure you enjoyed yourself because look at that. You ended up over here with us. So congratulations for finishing that course. But if you want to kind of take that next step, you got to come over here. It's on to
Yep. And usually where we see students have the most success is not just finishing one 6-week course or even just one 12-week course. You really need to do that full 18-month program. That's where we really see students have the most success. And it's not just the certificate that you get when you complete the 6th and final course of one of those 18-month programs.
Yeah.
It's all about your demo reel, right? So
Yeah.
that's what we
Which you
focus on
answered
here.
Luis's question on there too. I don't know if you did that on purpose, but what was that certificate provided by AM Courses?
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
see that actually.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, hey, that's pretty good that you snagged that thing up. Yeah, yeah. So we don't have that yellow brick course on our site. That's on, or that Sony course on our site. That's on the yellow brick side of
Yep.
things. And so even though they're, that's our parent company, the sites themselves are separate.
There it is. Oh,
Look
there's
at
the link.
that. Bam. Just kind of pops up there. Perfect.
Luis has got a good question here. It's just kind of simple. Is it okay to be afraid of making a mistake?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, that's you're if you're learning animation, I can guarantee you are going to make a mistake at one
Yeah.
point. And that's a big part of it. And like Tim was talking about earlier, you have a mentor there to guide you and to point out, what are some of those areas that you need to improve. It's not about pointing out a mistake. It's about identifying areas that need improvement and helping you fix those,
How to
so,
fix it.
so that's, I think it's totally okay to be afraid of that, but I think it's important to realize that, everybody's going to make some errors, some mistakes, have some problems in their animation, but you've got the support of your mentor and you have the support of an entire community of artists from around the world. They're going to be there to support you if you do, and it's inevitable. You will make some mistakes. So, but you have the support and resources to help you out with that.
Yeah, yeah. What else we got here?
Cool. More questions coming. There's a bunch here. We've got a few more minutes here, so we'll try and get to as many as possible. Let's see. This is a good one. It says, can you do animation if you don't know how to draw? So that's a good one. T-Dan touched upon that a little bit. I think that yes, you can, but I do think it's important to know a little bit of basics of drawing. I mentioned this
Yeah.
in a comment earlier. It's way up there in the chat, but there's a great book called Simplified Drawing for Planning Animation by Wayne Gilbert. That's a really good book, and one of our mentors. Why am I blanking on his name? Jean Denis. Jean
Oh, yeah.
Denis did a review of that book on his YouTube channel. So that's really good. So, but I like how you said it, Tim. When Tim's been working here longer than I have, and he's like, if you could draw a stick figure, you can animate. So that that was
Yeah.
something I've always remembered. You don't need to be a professional sketch artist to be a 3D animator. 2D is a bit different. You definitely need to have more drawing and sketching skills on the 2D side because you're going to be drawing characters and everything like that. But with 3D, it's really more about bringing those characters to life through body mechanics and acting and stuff like that. So most of your drawing for the 3D side is going to be around planning animation, and stick figures could totally, suffice for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Ida, which program would be a good starting point for 2D and 3D animation? Is it Maya for 3D? I've been using different programs for 2D, would also like to hear your opinion. Sorry. If the question is long, no, it's not too long. So you're good.
It's not.
If you're doing 3D animation, then, you should be doing Maya. If you already have some Blender experience, or maybe you want to throw in some Blender, cool. We happen to use Maya here at the school. And all of our courses are taught in Maya. And a lot of the industry, uses Maya. And so if you're
Yeah.
doing, that, start there for sure. If you're doing 2D, you see a lot of the recommendations that are up here, whether it happens to be Toon Boom or whatever it might be. People are using a lot of different things, for their 2D stuff. It's not so much the software that you know, it's the actual skill, right?
The
So whether
scale,
you're a
yeah,
Blender
for sure.
user or whatever, principles are principles, as T-Dan had mentioned
Yeah.
in his talk. The other side of it, Maya, Blender, Open Tunes, Flip, all that stuff is just a tool that they're using to create that. And so if you can learn that, if you can learn sort of the principles of animation,
Yeah.
regardless of what software that you're using, then you're definitely on the right track for sure.
Yeah. Couple of thank yous. First, Luis here in the comments, it's the painter, not the paintbrush. Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And then thanks to Alan, he posted a YouTube link for that Jean Denis book
was
review
cool.
of simplified drawing for planning animation. By the way,
Yeah.
I saw Wayne Gilbert has an account on our student campus.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yeah.
What's up, Wayne?
Well, cool. Well, that brings us to time. Wow, that was fast.
Dude, it was super fast.
Yeah, lots of really, really great questions. Thank you so much for everyone for attending. Bo, I'll hand it over to you and stop talking.
Oh, that was awesome to hear all of that stuff. And regarding Wayne Gilbert, he was actually an alumni of Animation Mentor. When
Okay.
Cameron and I, we went in and started AM way back in the day as students. This was before it kind of got as popular as it is now as the book to get for drawing animation.
Yeah.
All the students were just going, "Hey, this student Wayne Gilbert, like he wrote this book. You should check it out." Like, and it was like, "Oh, cool. Well, yeah, we'll definitely check it out." And it
Yeah.
was one of the things that helped me the most, specifically the keyframe drawing or keyhole drawing, I should say.
Oh, cool.
Fantastic. I highly recommend it to everyone.
I sent him a message on campus maybe a couple months ago, and he wrote me back. I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
so
nice.
that's cool."
So, yes, thank you so much, Tim and Mars. Again, a huge thank you to T-Dan for doing that amazing talk. And thank you all so much for listening, hanging out, asking all of those amazing questions. Definitely let us know what we can do more of in the future. We want to hear from you. We want to keep doing these awesome things. I want to keep doing these. These are a lot of fun for me.
You're good at it. Golly.
I
He's
just get to
great
nerd
at it.
out about animation. Like, I'm just happy here.
His excitement
So-
that you that's legit.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I
we know
mean-
we've been with Bo in person. We know it's
Yeah,
real.
yeah.
Bo Pro.
I started Animation Mentor wanting to learn animation. I get to do it every day now. It's like,
Yeah.
yes, please. So thank you all so much. Hopefully we'll see you in the next workshop. Hopefully we might see you on campus sometime soon. And take care and we'll see you around. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Next time.